Welcome back to the CFS Office Show, Episode 5, Learn and Adjust. This show, we're continuing on the educational platform when it comes to dealing with investing. Now again, my name is Primo Fuego Galicia, and I'm one of the partners here at CFS, which is Cash Flow Stewardship, Inc. We are a VC firm located in Omaha, Nebraska. One of the things is you have an opportunity to speak directly to me or me speak directly to you by watching these videos on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, because on this shows, you're not talking to a day trader, you're talking to an institutional or a company that actually gets involved early, helps a company that was one time not available to the general public to invest in, to grow into a point where they can get listed, then declare an exchange, and now you have an opportunity to invest in it. So when you're listening to us, you're getting advice from an insider. So stay tuned. Now, one of the things I want you all to know is this. How come we put on this show? Well, if you go onto YouTube, what are you going to find out is you're going to see a list of individuals that's going to tell you, hey, I can teach you to invest. Our approach is totally different. We teach you how to build companies for a living. So when you're watching the CFS Office Show, Episode 5, the topic of the day is Learn and Adjust, you're going to understand that we're coming from a whole different platform. We're not thinking about how to make a quick $300. See, when a company first starts out and is not available to the general public, there's a lot of learning and adjusting. There's no winner and losers in business. Now, you may say, I lost in business. No, you didn't learn and adjust. Last year, we saw where Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots actually played each other in the NFL Super Bowl. What took place? Brady left, went to Tampa Bay. He learned from his experience. He adjusted with a new team. And now in 2021, he is the Super Bowl champions of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's the MVP. 7th NFL championship. What did he do? Learn and adjust. Did he leave football? No. Did he lose the Super Bowl? No. He learned and he adjusted. Now welcome to what happens in every business. Learn and adjusting. If you're trading right now, you have a retail investment account, you have to understand that you don't have the same view as the view that we carry ourselves. We're individuals who at one particular point, you didn't even know we existed. Quietly, many hours, working 100 hours a week in the quiets of our home, away from any type of extra activity that you may do. I can assure you one thing, these are real businesses. If you see a stock, understand that it is publicly listed. For years, this might have been operating with a small management team. They learned how to save. The United States used to be the largest savers in the world. There was a time where you can get on the checking and savings account 4 to 5%, and people used to save more than 20%. Today, in the United States, the average American saves less than 3%. And the only reason they're saving the 3 or even getting any close to 10 is because they have a 401k, which is at their job that's mandatory, which is forcing them to take money out of their personal bank account. But set that money aside that's in the 401k. That's considered labor income. And let's look at the money they save from the net income they take home that's already been taxed. How much of that is saved every year? I mean, if you make, let's say for an example, 90,000, and if out of 90,000 you make, you bring home out of 90,000, let's say 78,000 after all the taxes because you're single. Now these numbers are not going to be stacked, so just know that it's just an example. Here's 78,000. Are you saving 7,800 a year? When you go into 2021, are you building on top of 7,800? What about the year before you made the same amount of money without getting a raise during the whole situation that we just went through and the whole world faced, COVID? Did you make 7,800 in 2019 and then you saved 7,800 in 2020 and now we're in 2021 and you're now about to grow 15,600, even higher? The average American doesn't do that anymore. The largest nation of savers is now Japan. So we need to take this from a position of saying, how are we learning and adjusting? When it comes to being a retail trader and you're thinking about opening up a trading account, how well are you at being disciplined and then learning and adjusting? Are you just saying, I'm going to add $300 more, so you had 2,000, you made a bad trade, I'm adding 300. Where's your learning and adjusting? You say, well, I'm adding 300. What you're telling me is you want to take on more risk. That's what you're telling me. So you got to keep this in mind. You put in 2,000, you lost 300, you added now 2,300. That's your total that you have now. And you now trading 2,300, not 17. What do you mean? Because you've taken on more risk. You're using 300 more on top of 2,000 to take on more risk than you did when you had 2,000. How come? Because you made a bad decision. My question is, are you forgetting that these are real businesses? When you hear that the market is going up and the market is going down, as a VC, that means nothing to me. All of that means is that there is some mannerisms and conversations that's going around business, but I can assure you, none of us go and walk to our office and jump up and down. None of us even pay attention to any of that foolishness. Our responsibility is to do the same thing we used to be as a country as a whole many years ago, to save. What do we mean save? It's not called saving in a business. It's called growing the net operating income and retained earnings. The more retained earnings we have, that is what it looks like to a regular consumer who has a retailer. The more you save on your personal business from your bank account for your personal income is the same thing. So when you're able to save more money than you actually spend, you're doing the same thing that I do in business every day. That's called retained earnings, excess profit over revenue. So I'm continually saving. The key to the saving when it comes to learning adjusting is adjusting from mistakes that didn't allow us to save more in the current month, or maybe the current week, or the current year. How do we beat last year's saving plan? Because now that the company is publicly listed, and now that the general public is aware of a company that has been operating for 10 or 20 years, all of a sudden it hits on the radar. You open up a retail account and you hear about this company called Fat Boy's Belly. And all of a sudden, Fat Boy's Belly, you can't wait to invest in, because you hear it has a saving component. The retained earnings is so good. The PE ratio is very low. PE ratio, also known as price earning ratio, it is the price that a company's shares are trading in correlation with their earnings. So when you're thinking about a saver and in your personal life, you was able to save $7,800 on a $90,000 paycheck annually that you receive, annual income. And the company is able to save $7,800 on the income they generated early on before they were listed. And every year they have retained earnings, excess revenue over profit. So they have 7,800, they have 15,600. We keep going. They keep saving. They want to improve on that 78. They want to grow that to be 9 versus 78 or 10. Now the company is prepared to go public. It was a small company that you could not invest in, and now you can. So this company had to learn to adjust. How are you doing the same thing? Because they didn't see it as a loss. They didn't say, I just lost $30. What they said is that we spent money that in spite of a return. So sometimes people are trading in these retail investment accounts in spite of getting a return. In spite means that you actually begin to trade a company and you don't understand that. You're looking at the stock, and the stock itself, you say, oh, I want to buy this stock so I can make $300. Let's keep this in mind. How long could you stay on the job if you worked one day and then you quit? Then you apply for another job and you worked and you quit. Then you apply for another job and you worked and you quit. After a series of 30 days, you will get 30 paychecks for one day. However, if there's only 30 jobs in the city or state where you live, you're really not going to have a job to go back to, because they already realize that when they look at your resume, that you do play a role in being unsuccessful in a long-term career. The question is, you have to remember that there are human beings, and when you're asking yourself this question, can I own a piece of this company that I wasn't allowed to buy years ago that I now can? And all these individuals who's part of the management, do they have a component to actually keep retained earnings? The reason why that is important if you're a retail trader, because price moves based on how well they can do that. As a VC, when I get involved in a company, my number one question is not how much money can I make, it's how much money can I deploy to this company that may spend money in spite of me. I am not considering that I can make $1 billion from this company. I'm considering how much can I lose when I enter doing business with individuals who are undeveloped in the area when it comes to retaining earnings. From that standpoint, I bring my gifts and talents inside of it. What does that mean? That means I get involved in the early stage of the company, assist them in developing the behavior so they can have retained earnings. And then from there, we begin to build out retained earnings that it meets a criteria so it can be publicly traded so that you can share in those earnings. How do you get a dividend? Because a guy like me made sure that the owners of that company was able to retain money. Now here you are, you're ready to trade, and that component you are ignoring. There are several things you need to know about stocks. And the one thing is how does the earnings play out when it comes to how much money they make, how much money they keep, how much debt they carry. All of those things are not by accident. So here's the thing. Do you have the ability to become an owner in the company, or do you have the ability to be a trader of the company? One causes you to be able to actually buy more ownership. The other causes you to demand some money today because you can't afford to trade at the same price or buy more at the same price because you don't have the behavior that the owners do at these companies. The richest man in the world today is Elon Musk, but it'd be somebody tomorrow who has the ability to save and save. That is the key. Here's my warning to you retail traders and any of these gurus who teach you how to actually trade. Remember, the best gurus are individuals who have companies and started off with 10 employees. Now they have 1,000. Now they have 3,000. And they also are able to keep retained earnings. Think about these gurus you're listening to. How many employees do they have? Or do they subcontract everything that they do? Do they have 100 employees? Can you go work for them and they give you $20,000 and you actually trade their money? Oh no, they'll teach you how to operate your own, but they don't provide jobs. And the reason why that's important because the companies that you are trading today or that you're buying tomorrow as a co-owner actually provide jobs. Gurus don't provide jobs. They provide instructions. And this is the reason why 90% of the people will lose 90% of money in the first 90 days. Because gurus don't teach the one thing that's very important that every manager have to do and everybody who gets a paycheck must do. And that is the ability to keep money. Hold back on consuming. Cut expenses. Have opportunity money to take positions in companies that once were not able to be purchased. With management that has the ability to save at a rate higher than. You can no longer in today in the United States receive 5% interest on a check and a savings account. Unless you find a new bank that's offering that temporarily. And if you do, make sure you message me when you subscribe to our channel. So that way I can figure out what that bank is because that's beating money markets right now. And there's no reason to put money in the market on the money market was when you can deal with that. So keep this in mind in today's episode. Are you learning and adjusting? Because there's no such thing on the stock market of winners and losers. It's just people who didn't learn and didn't adjust. Until next time, have a wonderful day.